State pension rise. 650,000 more retirees are to pay income tax for the first time due to the triple lock. Let's read more into these numbers from iNews, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from iNews with the headline that the state pension rise. 650,000 more retirees are to pay income tax for the first time due to the triple lock. Freezing tax thresholds combined with big increase to state pensions means record amounts of pensioners will be paying tax. Vote Conservative. Well, you know, there is it's tough, but I should read into it before judging, shouldn't I, guys? The number of pensions paying tax will increase by over 500,000 as a result of next year's increase to the state pension combined with the ongoing freezing of tax thresholds. New figures released by the Office of National Statistics today showing that the average wage grew by 8.5% compared with the previous year. This figure is highly likely to be the rate that determines the increase of the state pension next year. Under the triple lock agreement, the state pension must rise with the highest of the three options. These are the rates of inflation, the average earnings growth, or 2.5%. It is almost certain that the wage data will be the highest. It means pensioners can look forward to a bumper increase in their pension next April, but the downside is that even more pensioners will be dragged into paying income tax as a result, or those who are already paying will see bigger bills from HMRC. The number of people aged 65 and over who pay income tax rose by roughly 750,000 from 7.73 million to 8.5 million off the back of the last increase to the state pension, HMRC figures show. That increase was 10.1% and was the biggest increase to the state pension ever seen, with next year's increase likely to be the second biggest. Next year's figures are likely to mean another 650,000 people dragged into paying income tax, according to calculations by the Pensions Consultancy Lane Clark and Peacock, the LCP. Today, figures for earnings growth are likely to mean a second successive significant cash increase in the value of the state pension, following on from this year's 10.1% increase, says Steve Webb, spokesperson for LCP. Alongside a continued freeze of the tax-free personal allowance, it is likely to drag well over 500,000 more pensioners into income tax net. Once again, stealth taxation proves a convenient revenue raiser for the Chancellor. So here we've got the current and expected state pension rates. So on the left there we have the basic state pension, the weekly in 2023, weekly there £156.20 there. And next year it will be £169.50 in 2024-25, an increase of £13. That in annually is £8,122, and it will in line with the annual £8,814 the following year, an increase of £691. The new state pension weekly is £203.85, which is an annual of £10,600. The following year, the weekly will go up to £221 and the annual of £11,502. That is an increase of £902, an increase of £17.35 weekly. This source is from the Department for Work and Pensions. The triple lock is likely to increase earnings as it is, though inflation will grow, but only marginally. So this is what we are expecting. The freezing of the personal tax threshold, the amount of money you're allowed to earn each tax year before you start paying income tax, has contributed to more pensioners paying tax, as it has remained at $12,570 since 2021 and will stay frozen until 2028. Were they not frozen, these thresholds would usually increase in line with inflation, meaning people will pay a lower amount of tax, or in the case of many pensioners, no tax at all. The Despite the cost pressures on the government, there are several reasons why the government is likely to stick with the earnings growth figure in line with the triple lock policy, according to former Pension Minister Steve Webb. He said that the lock was a Conservative manifesto commitment in 2019 and has already been broken once. In April 2022, when benefits increased by the 3.1% rate of inflation rather than the 8.6% rate of earnings growth, breaking the commitment twice in 3 years could be highly politically damaging. He added that there is only a relatively small gap between earnings growth and inflation. The savings from breaking the triple lock would be relatively modest compared with the political challenge. The law states that the state pension must rise at least in line with the average earnings. Breaking that link would therefore require legislation, and the government might struggle to get such legislation through, especially in the final up-rating before the expected autumn 2024 general election. Importantly, older voters are most likely to turn out and vote, and at present they have the highest likelihood of voting Conservative from any age group, as a Conservative support is already a relatively low level. A policy seen as hostile to older voters could further undermine that support. The former Pension Minister added, in terms of a triple lock policy with a general election in the offering, it seems quite inconceivable that the government would choose to break the triple lock promise for a second time in 3 years. Such a decision would be like aiming a laser-guided missile at the core of the Conservatives' support and could fatally undermine the party's electoral prospects. I think at this point, to be fair, that I was kind of like thinking, are they trying to hold on to these people? And the answer is no. And at the end of the day, the Conservatives are at this point where they don't I think they just don't care at this point, and they're just going to try and rip up every single penny that they can. So what do I make of the income tax? My knowledge is not very good on it. I'm a bit of a not the brightest on it, but I'd say these are interesting numbers to say the least. I'm not an economic person whatsoever, but I think it was interesting to highlight, to say the least. I mean, like, for me, like, I'm just taking this this is from an opinion from someone who basically I think the state pension is an important thing for us to have. I feel like that both political parties, if it was up to them, they would take it away and have us rely on private companies and private pensions and that and whatnot. And I don't want to in my old age relying just on that. I mean, I do want a state pension. I don't like the fact that I have to wait such a goddamn long time for it, but I want to be able to have a decent of sorts end of life when I reach such an age, and I'm sure everybody else will feel that way. But obviously times by then things could be very well different. My thought process is that I think state pension is still important. I think it needs to be people need to be looked after and need to be well paid, especially those who have contributed to society throughout their life, and that's how it should always be that case. That is kind of my general consensus on that, and I'd like to think that myself, when I reach such an age, that I am looked after by the government with a decent state pension as well. But we'll have to wait and see, won't we, guys? So what do you make of these numbers? 650,000 more retirees to pay income tax for the first time. Let me know down in the comments below. Some of you guys are far more into the knowledge of this than I am, so I'm eager to listen. But I do think it's important to highlight, that is for sure. Definitely will be keeping an eye out, that is for sure. But let me know in the comments section down below, guys. Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to catch you all very soon.